she walks into mine.
He is the epitome of that wounded cynic, and what we get to see is a man who used to be an idealist reclaim that part of himself.
There's a great scene where the Germans are by the piano and they start singing the Wacht am Rhein. And everybody in Rick's Cafe who's not German is silent and in pain. And Victor Laszlo goes to the band and says, let's play the French national anthem.
Well, I say, wait.
They give that look to Bogey. He just goes. And then you're like, oh, Bogey's joined the war.
The movie is about refugees caught in desperate, life-threatening situations. And half the cast was refugees who had been caught in desperate, life-threatening situations. Peter Lorre escaped Germany when the Nazis took over. Conrad Veidt, who played the nastiest Nazi of them all, was a fervent anti-Nazi, had a Jewish wife. Marcel Dalio and Madeleine LeBeau, his wife, they escaped from France just as the Germans were arriving in Paris. All of Dalio's family that had been left behind died in the camps.
Defeating fascism through patriotism and the passion of loving your country. To this day, I get chills and tears when I watch that scene.
Casablanca is a perfect script for the perfect time. The way this story winds up is the only way that story could have ended.
Hilda, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world.
It's telling us all that our problems as individuals don't mean a lot in the face of this bigger challenge to come.
He's looking at you, kid.
And that we all had to deal with that in the very darkest days of World War II.
Open fire! To your station!
The typical story of a combat film is about a group with an objective facing death. They say, this is what we have to do, let's get this done and win it.
Think of a bomber now. Well, I'll tell you for that.
They're designed to reassure people and to involve people in the war.
When you try to understand the change that World War II wrought on the movies, you have to understand that 5 of the greatest directors actually went and took part in the war.
It was Capra, it was Ford, it was Stevens, it was Houston, and it was Wyler. These were clearly 5 of the great American icons. They served their country as storytellers and risked their lives.
And men who believed in their country, like my father, felt a moral obligation to defend their country against the scourge of Nazism.
In an effort to maintain contact with the enemy, our patrols immediately pushed ahead.
He was in some very hairy situations. He talked about a commander whose troops had really been decimated by the Germans, crossing a bridge that had been bombed. And this man raised his arm to salute, except he was missing a hand. The war definitely followed him throughout his life.
John Ford filmed the Battle of Midway that won him an Academy Award for Best Documentary. He also filmed the D-Day landings in 1944. He was deeply affected by the war. He comes back to Hollywood wanting to make a movie. He doesn't want to make your sort of we've won, it's all wonderful type of movie.
Take cover!
They Were Expendables. It's about the fall of the Philippines and the defeat of the United States.
Ford made this very patriotic picture about the noble sacrifice.
When you see the general, tell him the end here is near.
Most of them were going to become prisoners of war, and many of them would probably perish.
As I call your names, kindly step into the plane.
At the end of the movie is very much about the fate of these sailors that were staying behind. If they didn't get on that plane, they know what that means.
Sir, how many more planes are coming in? None. With welcome and well done everywhere.
Immediately after the war, everybody was saying, how do we pick up where we've left off? After everything that we have seen and learned, the cost of war is what is communicated in the best years of our lives, better than any war movie I've ever seen.
These guys are just trying to get home.
This is my street.
They never knew each other before the war, but they all meet and they become fast friends, and their lives start to really interconnect as they start to work out the huge damage that the war causes our emotional core. The film was made right after the war, and as the camera cranes up, you see this vast World War II graveyard of old hulks.
That phenomenal scene when Dana Andrews is sitting in the junked plane reliving his missions as a bombardier, it communicates that oppressive weight of the experience of putting your life on hold and going off and maybe coming back, maybe not coming back at all, or maybe coming back with no hand.